Good morning, everybody. This morning we are chatting to Gordon Rigby. Gordon left Stuart's Melville College in 1990 and he has gone on to work in the catering business. We've got a few questions for you here today, Gordon. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your career journey after leaving school.
Hi Susie. When I left school, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I did apply for some university courses, but didn't get onto the ones that I wanted to get onto, and applied to a number of jobs in the financial services sector, and ended up working at the Royal Bank of Scotland as just a junior really for a couple of years. Started at John Shook branch, which is no longer there, and then moved up to the West End branch on Prince Street. And I think I stayed there for just over 2 years. And I think I had that realisation that I was doing the same job as people about 10 or 15 years older than me, who were only getting paid a fraction more. And that wasn't really what I wanted to do long term. So I looked at the clearing opportunities for some universities in the paper one day and just made a rash decision that I was going to university and chose to do accountancy at Napier. So jacked in my job and went to Napier to do accountancy.
So you've worked advising a range of businesses from blacksmiths to technology startups and even private aviation, and this is part of 80/20 financial management. Has there been a sector that you found particularly challenging or interesting?
I think I ended up taking on or sort of building an accountancy business after having worked in a business for a number of years. And hospitality was kind of where I landed my first sort of permanent job after university. So that's wasn't by any great grand design or anything that I ended up there. It was kind of a summer job that never ended in many respects. And then I ended up taking on an accountancy franchise, and that's where I got all the sort of length of experience, which was great. I think certainly working in the construction industry was kind of eye-opening and challenging, especially around 2008, 2009 in terms of the credit crunch and all the things that were happening there. But again, not by any great grand design, but probably about 80% of my client base has ended up being hospitality based. So I guess with my background, having worked for a contract caterer since '95, it's just, I guess hospitality has been bizarrely where my focus has been. As I say, there was never any great massive passion for hospitality, or that's where I wanted to focus. It's just where I guess your career path takes you.
Okay, well, what's been your favourite project to work on? You've had such a variety. Do you have a favourite?
I think, when I started with cost-effective catering in '95, I ended up I actually started working for a small accountancy practice as a summer job, and cost-effective catering were one of their clients. And after about a month, the managing director of cost-effective and my boss at the accountancy practice had an argument and fell out, and I thought that'd be the end of my summer job. But the MD of Cost Effective said, "You're coming with me and you're going to be my financial controller." And I was like, "I've only got 4 weeks work experience, so how do I do this?" And you'll be fine. And it has been. And at the end of the day, you just have to sort of fly by the seat of your pants sometimes and cost effective ended up as a company turning over 5.6 million with 200 plus employees, and I was in charge of all the finance and all the rest of it. And my boss had a relatively simplistic way of looking at things, was as long as he got paid every month, I was doing my job. So as long as you got paid, it didn't matter what I did, sort of thing. So that was a project, I guess, but that was my job. I was kind of learning on the hoof and dealing with stuff, and it was great. And we were caterers at Stuart's Melville, Mary Erskine from 2003 to 2011. So it was great to be involved in projects like that, and dealing with things like at the old school, and various projects. And now, still being involved with in the running cost-effective catering now, there's things that are exciting projects, and asking for a different skill set than just sort of crunching numbers. I guess I've turned from just doing accounts to having to do HR to sales to various other things. So it's really having to evolve as things go as you take on a business, and so it's all been quite exciting actually. It's been tough times, but generally it's been good to be part of, and it's also given me flexibility to do other things. I was involved in the FP Rugby Club for many years, and which was great, but I had the flexibility with my work to work different hours so that I could spend time doing the rugby related stuff. So, from that point of view, might not have got that in a traditional business, but it worked, and I had a great time doing it all.
Oh, fantastic. It sounds like it's been such a wide-ranging journey. And you've mentioned a few different areas that you've had to kind of upskill in. Is there a particular approach that you take when you've got something new like that happening? Do you look for a training course? Do you look for a mentor or somebody who can guide you through? How do you deal with that?
Kind of usually try and find, from the HR side of things, for example, we use an outsourced HR department who kind of keep us right. We have HR issues, so this is what you've got to do. Make sure you follow this to the letter, and you then have to go away and do it. And it's not always pleasant jobs, but it has to be done. So yeah, generally, I think I'm a kind of, I know a little bit about a lot, but I'm not an expert in anything. So I'm always happy to use somebody who's an expert, because you need to get it right. And I've got no problem of, whilst I did accountancy, I'm not a tax expert, so I would go and speak to a tax accountant regarding tax stuff. And similarly, happy to use an HR person for that. Health and safety people use. It's just making sure that you get the best advice. Because I guess the catering thing is so wide ranging, there's so many parts to it that you can't know everything about it. And certainly, I've got a business partner in the catering business who is a chef, so he can deal with the food side of things. It's not for me to, if we need menus created or whatever, then that's his job. I'll look after the other side of things.
Okay. And you've taken over at Jen's Den and opened up Turtle Dove Play Cafe, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
When was that?
Did that in 2016.
Right.
So,
and what motivated you to kind of go for that alongside your other roles as an owner of a catering company as well as a franchisee with 80/20?
Well, glutton for punishment. I think it was a family decision, and at that point, and we had a young, still a young child, But my daughter was 2.5, 3 at the time, and we used to take her to Jensdown. And when we saw that it was up for sale, it kind of tied in with, I guess, some of my skill sets and the skill sets that others in the family had. So it was, I think, let's do this and see what we can do, because I think we had, as parents of a young child, you do look to do things with them, and Jen's then stroke Turtle Dove, I guess, tried to cater for the younger kids, whereas some of these bigger places that you have kids ranging from 18 months to 12 to 14 running around going crazy, and the safety is not always paramount with the kids, whereas Turtle Dove was always for the under fives market. So it was a safe environment and just something that parents could come and relax, and so it's a popular destination, and people seem to enjoy coming here, and you get people for 3 or 4 years who come here quite regularly, and you never see them again, sort of thing. So but it's also a place where you end up seeing faces from your past in terms of either rugby or whatever, because they're in with their grandchildren or whatever it might well be. So it's they do always ask the same question: is how do I cope with the noise? Because you can have 30 or 40 screaming children, and my office is downstairs, and you can hear them, but you just get used to it, and it's good. It's nice to hear them having fun.
Yeah. Having my own toddler, I can definitely identify with being able to tune out the screaming children after a certain amount of time, particularly with working from home over the last year.
I do confess there has been times when I've gone upstairs, gone through the door, looked at this carnage that's upstairs, and went, I'm just going back downstairs and get it away, because it's not getting involved in that. But that's usually in the middle of winter with heavy rain outside. The place can be quite chaotic, but all good fun.
And you mentioned you've got a new project at Saughton. Tell us about that.
Yeah, as part of, I ended up buying cost-effective catering in 2018 with a business partner, a guy called Chris Davidson, who was a former pupil in school as well. I think he was maybe left school in '95, potentially. Around that era anyway, and as part of that there was a tender opportunity to run a restaurant stroke cafe at Saughton Park, which had been refurbished. I think we got lottery grant funding of about £8.5 million to develop the park, so they spent a lot of money doing up the kids' play park. It's got a real big skate park, and then they've got a walled garden, which is a beautiful place to walk around. And part of the funding was that they had to have a cafe stroke restaurant. So we just put a tender in, and that was in February 2019, and we got awarded the contract about a month later. So, and the plan was we were meant to open on the 1st of May 2019, but issues between the council and the contractors and getting the building ready meant that we never actually got the building signed over to us until February 2020. But in the intervening period, we still did the grand opening of the park with Princess Anne opening it, and we had to cater for 250 local dignitaries plus the Princess Royal from a marquee, including cooking everything in a marquee. So it wasn't without its challenges, but it was all done, and everybody seemed to have a good time. And then as I say, we finally got the keys on, I think we got them on the 4th of February 2020. We got everything installed, had everybody arranged to come to our grand opening on the 26th of March. And obviously, well, the park got shut on about the 16th of March because I think there'd been a COVID case in one of the buildings that they have there. So we were sitting there going, oh my God, how are we going to survive this? Because we'd had to invest a fair bit of money in terms of kitchen, servery units, tables, chairs, brought on board staff and all the rest of it. And suddenly you can't trade. And, we didn't qualify for any government assistance at that point because you had to have been registered for rates by the 17th of March. Yet we hadn't had the building completion certificate signed off, so we weren't entitled to any assistance. And you're sitting there going, oh my God, how do we get through this? But we did. And when the kind of first relaxation after the first lockdown came in towards the end of June in 2020, we decided we could open as a takeaway, and it's been great because it's ticked many boxes. People were allowed to go out for exercise in a park or whatever, keep their distance, and the park has been really busy. We also had the benefit of being fully licensed, so we ended up with like a 34-acre beer garden. And yeah, so it's been great so far. And so we had a good year last year. January to April this year has been incredible in terms of how busy the place has been. I guess people have just been wanting to get out, and obviously we've reopened fully now, indoor and outdoor dining since 26th of April. We only opened indoors this week. That's been a challenge because the weather since we've opened up the outdoor dining has been pretty poor. So it's not really been conducive to having a nice experience sitting outside in the freezing cold. But no, it's been good. So yeah, we've got about 35 employees there now. So if we included that, I think we've got 3 or 4 former pupils of the school. In fact, we've got some current pupils of the school working. I think a couple of girls from Mary Erskine's have got jobs with us, just because they applied and were the best people for the jobs rather than anything else. But it's going quite well, and I know it's been popular. I've seen quite a few former pupils around, and it's great to bump into people, and it's going really well.
And have you had to make any major adaptations, like to make the cafes COVID safe?
Well, yeah. I guess if we look at the Garden Bistro at Salton, we spent about £25,000 on a servery unit because we were going to have people coming in one door, getting a tray, walking along a servery counter, getting the food that they wanted and going to the tail point. And that has never ever been used after all this amount of time, and probably will never be used now because of just the way things have changed. So we've had to adapt how we've done things. We've had to adapt with the takeaway window that was installed has done a lot more business than we thought we would do. And I think we've got more seats outside than we thought we would have, just because we've had to. But there is an element, people are just wearing a ski suit to come for a meal, and having a good time. I think people just got used to the fact that these are the rules. But yeah, there's a lot more cleaning involved, which there has to be. Training of the staff is obviously very important as well, just to make sure that they're aware and knows everything. But I think in general, the public are pretty understanding of everything. It's been a pretty tough year for everybody, so people seem to be more accepting or waiting in queues than they probably would have been 2 years ago. They know that they might have to wait around a bit that they couldn't have done previously, and they understand that even to go to the toilet, you can only let so many people in the building. They can't queue and all the rest of it. So I think it's been tough, but we've had to do it, and I think we've worked with a health and safety company to make sure that we've done all our risk assessments and we know what they are. We've worked with environmental health to make sure that we tick all the boxes that need to be done, and that's all you can do. I think it was quite tough, because I think we spent a fair bit of money, both at the Garden Bistro and at Turtledove, implementing all the things you're advised to do for hospitality. Yeah, we were just shut, regardless of the fact that we invested all this money. But safety came first, and so we're back up and running now everywhere. And to be fair, the Garden Bistro has actually been a lifesaver for cost-effective catering, because we were still a contract caterer, so it's predominantly catering for staff restaurants, workplace canteens, so on. We've only got 25% of our contracts currently operating, because most of them are still working from home. So thankfully, the Garden Bistro has come in and compensated for that side of things, which has been great. We'd also won another contract in November 2019 to be the wedding and events caterer at the National Mining Museum at Grange. 18 months later, we've not done a single thing. So it's nice to have, but weddings just aren't back up and running yet. So it's been a challenging period of time, but we're still here, and things are looking quite positive. And on the back of the success of the Garden Bistro, it's opened up a few other doors for us, which we're currently exploring. So it's a positive time. Hospitality has struggled, but we should come out the other side hopefully in a good position.
And how do you see the future of the cafes? Are you looking forward to being able to resume your usual business development plan, or are you going to have to make significant adaptations to that?
Well, I think we go back to Turtledove, for example, and we had a soft play area which was incredibly popular, which is currently dismantled and sitting at the back of the cafe in an area which nobody can access. We used to have lots of toys and things for the kids to do, which we don't really have around at the moment. We still have certain things, but not to the volume that we did have. And we used to have a great birthday party trade at the weekend. We would usually do 6 parties Saturday and Sunday every weekend. Yeah, I think it's going to be September before we can start doing those again, potentially, at this moment in time. So that all has to come back at some point. I guess on the other side of the coin is, by taking out the soft play, we ended up with 4 extra tables. So we've been able to get more people into the cafe, and I think people are just be happy to get out again. And I think a few people ask when the soft play is coming back, and we would like it to come back. But practicalities of it are the rules in terms of cleaning the soft play frame would mean we would probably have to close every hour and a half for half an hour to 45 minutes to clean it and get it dried for the next group to come in. And it just doesn't make business sense at the moment to get it back up and running. So,
soft plays in level 0, isn't it? Which is still quite a way off.
Yeah, so you just have to adapt, and you can sit there and go, when we get that back, it'll be great. But I think at the moment, we're busier. May, June, and July First of all, are usually the quietest 3 months of the year, just because we're an indoor play cafe, and if we get a summer, it seems to be May, June, and July of late. But the weather's been pretty rubbish in May, one of the wettest ones, so we've been really busy. Conversely, Monday to Friday, the Garden Bistro's been a bit quieter because everybody who was there previously in the park, or not everybody, but a lot of them are now coming to places like Turtledove because they can be inside and not out in the cold. So it's good to have, I guess, complementary businesses and such that when one's a bit quieter, the other one's busy.
Mm. And one last question for you. What one thing do you wish you'd known when you left school, which would have prepared you better for life and business?
I don't know. I was telling somebody the other day that I remember having a choice of working out my timetable at school. I think for third year was a choice of product design or computer studies. And I chose product design because I didn't think computers would ever take off, because I was a visionary. But I don't know. I think what did I wish I'd known? I think I got a pretty good grounding in terms of things at school. I think my route might not have been with everybody's way of working, then going to university, but I think that's helped me get an understanding of business, and it's helped me along the way. To have some work experience before going to university was not maybe a bad thing, especially being a finance related degree, but certainly not for everybody. But no, I think the school did a pretty good job in terms of, I would never ever claim to have been anywhere near the top of my year academically. But I think one of the things the school did, they gave you a broad range of experiences, and also say I'm not potentially the brightest people ever to come out of Stuart's Melville. I think I've got a fair bit of common sense, and I think applying that in business, and I think whether you can teach common sense or not, but I think some of the opportunities you got at school help do that, and I think that was a big benefit. But I don't think there would be anything I don't look back and regret anything or wish anything had been different. So I can't think of anything specifically that I wish they'd told me that. But I suppose at school I did want to be a PE teacher at one point. But PE teachers in school at the time told me not to do that. So, that was the advice that they gave. So do this. So you end up finding your own path, and as I say, I had a conversation a few weeks ago then with somebody about the pressure on the kids to know what they want to do at such a young age. And you could actually turn around and say, I'm 49 now, I'm actually doing what I want to do. Still don't know what I want to do, but I'm having fun along the way. So that's all been a good experience so far.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Gordon. That's been absolutely fantastic. I'm wishing you all the best for Turtledove, for the Garden Bistro, and for CEC for the future.
Thanks, Susie.